All right. Well, thank you, Susan, and welcome everyone to the professional project panel discussion, which is part of our Phi U Chapter chat series. This is an awesome turnout, and we're so glad that you're here. Today, we will be hearing from a panel of National Council board members, including our National President, Dr. Kyle Roberson, our President-elect, Dr. Susan Miller, and our National Advisor Councilor, Dr. Diana Watson-Maile. So they are a wonderful resource and have lots of experience and can help guide us through this. Service is a huge component of Phi U membership and how we use our family and consumer science skills to give back to our communities. And so we're so glad that you're interested in being a part of it and learning more. I just want to take this opportunity to give a couple of brief updates. Hopefully you've seen communication come through from Greek Track or from national@phiu.org. But November 1st is an upcoming deadline. We have the Bachtel Holbrook Collegiate Advisor Award. So I know you have awesome advisors out there. Please nominate your advisors for that advisor award to be recognized. Also, we have the Florence Fallgatter Distinguished Alumni Service Award. So that's an outstanding alum that's affiliated with Phi U. We also have an alumni research grant, and that's $2,500. So if you're conducting some research and you are an alum, please consider applying for that. We also have our national officer nominations. So our next president-elect, our next national advisor counselor, and our 2 directors on the foundation board nominations are open until November 1st for those positions. And lastly, for our advisors, there is an advisor coffee break coming up on November 1st at 6 p.m. Central. So we'll be sending out more information on that. So mark your calendars. I know lots of stuff going on. If you missed the deadline for your active status confirmation form and your honor cords and stoles, which were due October 15th, please get those in ASAP, especially so we can get your cords and stoles mailed for December graduates. So if you need help with that, I'm always here. I'm national@phiu.org, and you can reach out to anybody on the board as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Susan Miller, who is in charge of the professional projects in her role as president-elect, and can relate to all of you, especially for those who are vice presidents. So thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Melissa. And yes, I have enlisted the services of Dr. Roberson and Dr. Watson-Maile to help me with their expertise. This was my first year to be on this side of it. I've been a Phi U advisor for many years and definitely been on the other side of it many times, but this was my first time on this side. So I have some pointers that I'd like to make, but I want them to chime in, and this is be an open discussion. So for you all to ask questions as well. It's not too early to start. And Melissa has updated some of the guidelines, but I asked her not to, well, I just told her update those dates and things, but after this meeting tonight, I think that we might be making some other adjustments to it. So I'm going to, in just a minute, I'm going to walk you through and show you how to get there. And then we're going to go through piece by piece those parts that, and talk about the importance of those parts. And then I have suggestions from some of the evaluators from this past year. So welcome to all of you. I would love to take the time for each one of you to introduce yourself, but for the sake of time and knowing that your time is important as well, we're going to just move right into it. But feel free to, would you like for everybody to put their name in the chat that attended, Melissa? And so if you'll just put your name and school in the chat, that would be good. And that way we'll have an account of who all has come this evening. So let me start by sharing the screen, sharing my screen. So can you see that? Is it a decent size for you? Okay. So I'm going to just back up here. So if you see, I really just went into Google and I typed in phiu.org. And so I'm going to go, and that takes me right to our home page. And so at the home page, you're going to want to log in. And when you log in, that is going to take you to Greek Track. And so I'm going to log in with my email and password. And so many of you will just have one membership here. That Alpha Nu, that's where I was initiated into Alpha Nu many, many years ago. Actually, I think it's almost 50, but that's a long time, isn't it? And currently I've just retired from the Gamma Gamma from UCO, and I still work with Dr. Wong a little bit with Gamma Gamma chapter. And then if you are on the board and serving as vice president, as president-elect, I have access to this headquarters. But I'm going to go in tonight. I'm going to go into Gamma Gamma, just like you would go into your particular chapters. And so when I get into Gamma Gamma, this is what this page looks like for me. And so I'm going to come down and go where it says Co-Advisor Dashboard. And I'm going to ask it to view details. Uh-oh, I did not do that right, did I? View all. I am so sorry. I'm like, now that is not right. View all. I want to go into view all. And so there are two places that officers and advisors can get into the paperwork for the professional project. You can go in where it says all officers and advisors and come down to professional project resources and go in that way. Or you can, it is the vice president's responsibility generally within your chapter. And so that is where it is housed as well. So you can go into the vice president, and I'm going to go into the vice president. I'm going to stay there now, but, and then you have the professional project and folder that has all the pieces to it. And so we are going to go through several of these pieces this evening. And then you have lists of past winners and things like that. But the first thing that I'd like to start with is the tips from the national president-elect. And so I'm going to call that up. And so you all are seeing that, okay? Okay. And the reason I wanted to do that, I want you to get the explanation. I want you to begin thinking about a professional project. I always kind of, I guess, speaking in layman's terms, I just look at it as you're finding something within your community, your surroundings. Your community can be your university. Your community can be the city or town in which you live in. So within there that you think that you could serve, it's about a service project, basically. And we like for it in Phi U to revolve, and we want it. That's one of the criteria, is it is to revolve around our theme. And so this year and next year, our theme is family, the foundation of legacy, the foundation and legacy of FCS. And, most of the time these themes are pretty broad. So there's a lot of avenues that you could take from that theme. And so keeping that theme in mind when you're looking for that need within your community. And I don't want to read every word, but I do want this to be very explicit to you, because I want all of you to be winners, and you are all a winner if you do this project. In my estimation, you are a winner. You may not win the money per se, but you have won by serving in your community. So what is the professional project? It provides chapters that opportunity to develop and implement a project that amplifies not only that theme, but the purposes of Phi Upsilon Omicron. And we might want to go back and when you're going through this and refresh yourself on the home page, what are our purposes, and go back and reflect on that. Well-developed project recognizes and promotes academic excellence and enhances qualities of leadership by allowing chapter members to utilize skills and knowledge that they've gained in their family and consumer sciences courses. And so I'm just going to speak from the two universities that I've worked with these projects on. We have always incorporated each one of the majors within, and I know that we're kind of scattered today. And so however you can work it out within your university, but we always made sure that we incorporated something, and I'm just going to use UCO as an example. We have 3 areas at UCO. We have fashion marketing, nutrition, and family life education. And so we made sure with every professional project we did that something was representative of each one of those majors within the theme that we were talking about. So to me, that's what that means. You want to, because you have skills and knowledge within all of those. And so try to incorporate all of those. A true professional project encourages lifelong learning and commitment to enhance FCS in going beyond simply implementing it, going more than just doing it. It's taking it even a step further. It provides members with the opportunity to enhance their leadership and encourages commitment to the field by allowing them to employ their professional knowledge. And I love this final statement, while making a difference. And I have seen it make many differences within various programs that our universities have. And then just reading what many of you, I'm assuming maybe some of you did one last year, and the evaluators from last year. I will tell you, I had several evaluators from last year, and 2 of their comments were, this is so encouraging to know that our programs can live on because these students are so outstanding in what they have chosen to do. So that's kind of the gist of what the professional project is. And so then there are awards, and these awards have been doubled this year. And so this is noted, right, Melissa? So the first place award winner last year would have just gotten 150, and this year, and
we actually increased them last year. The foundation board increased them last year, and they're gonna, so that was put into place.
And they will remain. Okay. So the monetary values are listed there, and those are the awards, and your chapter would receive a check for that. And so just some tips in the tips from the president-elect here. Start early. So we wanted to do this now so that you could begin to think about this, and it is not too early to start thinking about it. It's really not even too early to start doing it. So if you're going to do a long range something where you're going to go once a week to something, then we value your time as much as we possibly can. And so definitely starting early would be important. Involve chapter members in the decision making. So don't just let this be like the vice president's thing or just the officers. Include all of the members of Phi U. And even at UCO, sometimes we have invited and included other non-members of Phi U to help us with these programs. And in some instances, they even became Phi U members at a later date because they had the opportunity to help us with that. So it encourages volunteerism. So you want to get your enthusiasm just as soon as you can. And don't worry if you don't get started early. Sometimes you don't get started until the month before, and you can still get all that enthusiasm. I generally see lots of enthusiasm the day of this project. It's so inspiring to me. I just really try not to ever miss a single one of them because it always comes together. So plan yourself a calendar. Keep in mind that it does not have to be one major event, that it can, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, and you can get support. You all know that here in Oklahoma, we're known to have tornadoes. And so one year I recall our students doing their project with a YMCA group in downtown Oklahoma City, and they did it on weather. And they enlisted the services of weathermen. They gave them tote bags. They got giveaways from all kinds of organizations with those little rain hats that you tie around. I think they might have even gotten a few umbrellas. I don't know, but just a lot of little things that had to do with weather and material. So, you can do all that kind of thing as well. So that doesn't just have to be one. The one that our chapter, UCO, we won this just one year. We placed a few times in some of those others, but we actually won it one year, and it was a one-time thing, but it was an all-day event with parents and children, and it was so awesome. So, okay, choose a title. So you'll want to choose a title and in keeping with that national theme. And here we've listed that again: family, the foundation, and legacy of FCS. So get your creative brains flowing and begin to think about that. I'm going to go over the guide for writing the professional project. It's next, and how to submit it and all of that. This is just a reminder here. Follow the instructions. I'm going to say this probably multiple times because it was said to me multiple times by the evaluators and myself as I follow the directions. But I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Someone have a question? Bailey, did you have a question?
Thanks. I just need to mute. Can you mute her, Susan?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now where was I now? You need to follow the guidelines to the letter. Don't leave off anything. Don't decide I'm gonna just do this and be a little different from that. It must be to the letter, and that was nearly every evaluator said that, and I said that myself as I was looking at it. So that is one of the most important things. And then I'm going to talk about some key things in a few minutes, and then Dr. Watson and Dr. Roberson, they will probably have some things to add to everything I'm saying as well. So show evidence of planning. And so the guidelines specify that it's to be a written document. It's so many pages, but we want you to, you can include clips, pictures, little video clips, but not like the whole video, but maybe a video clip showing something that you did within it. and then pictures, but they are more to embellish and show what you did as opposed to being the whole project. So it needs to be a PDF document, and I'm going to say that multiple times as well. It must be submitted as a PDF document. And so we will talk about that. So that the last thing is my information, and I want you to feel free to reach out to me. And I promise you, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to call Melissa or Dr. Robertson or Dr. Watson and find you out the answer and get back to you on that. So at that, Dr. Robertson and Dr. Watson, do you all have something to add at this part before I move on to the specific guidelines?
Go ahead, Dr. Watson.
I think I'll wait till you're done, because what I have is mainly just parts of the document that I just want to emphasize on. So I'll wait till later. So Kyle.
Okay.
Sure. Well, welcome everybody. I'm glad to see so many people on here. It makes me very encouraged to see our family come together and work on a project that helps our communities. My point that I want to bring in and drive home is, and Dr. Miller said it, is make sure you use as many people in the chapter that you can get involved. Don't put the weight on just the officers, because you already do activities as individual chapters that has multiple members involved. Make this be one of those things and get as many people as involved as possible. Whether you have committees or subcommittees to get that accomplished, divide and conquer, and you'll find out that this will be a lot of fun, and it gets to help develop everybody's leadership potential and skills. And so I want to stress that fact. And so we still have a lot of good information tonight. So one of the things I want to encourage is put a question in the chat. We have somebody monitoring the chat, or raise your hand. Most of us got the little screen up, so we may not see that. So, but
Yes.
ask a question if something comes up, because it's better to do it in the conversation versus at the end, because we might forget about it. So again, we want to thank Dr. Miller for putting this together, and we have a lot of good information. So let's just keep plugging along.
Okay, so I'm going to back out of this. I'm going to close that piece, and then I am going to go down to go back up to the guide for writing the professional project report. And so this is what I'm going to go over next. And yes, including everyone. And I always say, a good leader does not do everything themselves. A good leader is who gets others to help. They still roll up their sleeves and work, but they are ones that can engage others to work on projects. So yes, include everyone, because everybody usually has such a good time at this. So, okay, so this piece right here walks you through exactly what you need to do. And I've made myself some notes, so I don't mean to be looking down. I have it up here on my screen, but I think that first little part, well, I'm going to still kind of read over it, and I want us to be sure we allow plenty of time for a few questions as well. So it provides chapters with the opportunity to develop and implement the project that amplifies. I think this is that same thing, isn't it? On the, would you check? I think that's the same thing. So national theme, it's the same as on the tips from there. So let's move down to writing the report and follow the rubric. So I'm going to back out of this just for a second. I'm going to close this. Right down here is the rubric. So once you've put this all together, we provided you with the rubric that's going to be used to assess this. And so go in there and take a look at that. Now, we're definitely not going to go over all that tonight, but I just want you to be sure you go in there and take a look at that. and see what is important and how much weight something particular thing has. So let me go back to this. So the cover sheet, it comes as a separate piece. It was a separate. I'm gonna do this again. Right here is the cover sheet, and it is a Word document for you to fill in, but it must be converted to a PDF and come in just one file. You need to submit one file with cover sheet, everything in one file to the national office. You don't submit the cover sheet, then submit this, then submit that. Everything needs to be in one piece. So that's what that cover sheet is. Okay, then so the cover sheet, you want to be sure. The title page, this includes the title, your title. So come up with a creative title for your professional project that reflects the project content, the name of your chapter, your college and university, your region number, in the centered format of a normal title page that you would do for a document at your university. This would precede the actual write-up. So you'd have the cover sheet and then you'd have the title page. Please note this title page is not the same as the cover sheet that's provided by the national office, and it is not included in the total page count. So when you get to that, you don't consider that. So then the project title, the title of your project should clearly represent your project and accurately reflect what's in your content. So a lot of times I have told my students in the past to, maybe if they're struggling on the title of their paper or whatever they were doing for me or these projects, do the project and then come up with the title and make sure that you are all inclusive on what you've done. Then presentation of the report. It is this document that I'm going over right now. You should go over and over and over it. And this is what you need to follow to the letter. And what evaluators have said, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. So if they didn't do this, they didn't do that, then apparently they didn't read this document. So the report is a presentation of the activities, leadership, service, scholarship. Please do not compile a scrapbook. This is a professional report that should highlight your chapter members use the knowledge and skills gained from their field of the family and consumer sciences to serve your community for the need that you found. You need to write a 250-word abstract over the summary of your project. And I'm going to ask Dr. Watson, if she doesn't already have that on her agenda, to tell them at the end how they can also use that abstract later for another piece of recognition within Phi U. So be sure you do that. Then moving on, I'm not, were y'all able to see that? Okay, the professional project overall assessment. So I showed you just a little bit the rubric a while ago. So points are assessed to each area, as you saw, and you get pieces of points for things, but naturally you're going to get the most points if you followed everything to the letter. And then the rubric part 3, well, did I skip something here? Did I miss a page? Rubric part 1? Oh, I've already done rubric. Okay, never mind me. I'm retired and I'm still trying to find my system here. So I'm gonna blame it on retirement now. So, okay, so yes, rubric part 2, the introduction. So always a good paper, you have a good introduction, lets us know what you're doing. The mission and vision statements should be included. Why are you doing this project? And what is your vision for what you see happening or what you saw happening? The SMART goals. There seem to be this year, and I don't know, Dr. Robertson can speak for the last 2 years, but there seem to be some issues with SMART goals. So I am in this particular document, I'm going to give a few more definitive words of specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. I'm going to explain those just a little better, but brief. And then I'm going to also give you maybe a site or two. Those goals are in multiple textbooks that I taught from as a professor, those SMART goals. So I feel like they're in some of your textbooks that you get a good detailed explanation of those, but I'm going to try to give you a site and give you just a little broader, but not much. I want it to be shorter. Okay, and then description, details, who, what, when, where, why, and how. Y'all know all about that. And relationship to the national theme. I think we have mentioned that multiple times. The cost, the funding, and the resources. So we don't want you to have to go out and spend a lot of money. If you can get sponsorships, that's great as well. If you can get help in any way, but and within your university, you will have to know how you can use the monies that you have from Phi U and what you can use it for. I know ours, we can't use it for certain foodstuffs, so we couldn't use our money that we receive from the university for Phi U, which they do give us some money every year. We could not use that money to buy snacks for this project. Okay, so you'll have to find out your guidelines for that, and so see if you can get some sponsorships and those kinds of things. If you had no related costs, then a brief statement of why you didn't need any funds. So if you can do it without using funds at all, then just tell us how you manage that, because that'd be a great feat if you can do that. So interpretation, then relationship to the FCS body of knowledge. Clearly discuss how your professional project relates to the FCS body of knowledge. And we give you the AAFCS website there. How do you want to elaborate any at this point there? I know that that's pretty broad on campuses today. Lots of different areas are involved in.
Are you speaking to the national theme?
Well, and to the FCS body of knowledge.
Right. So
yeah.
I can throw up a website there too, so that you can read about the body of knowledge. And so just think about the impact of, from the very center of the body of knowledge being self and well-being and moving out to the greater good of the community. If you can tie it to that body of knowledge and how it intersects between those. And I'll pull up a thing that we can share a screen so we can talk about that.
Okay, as soon as I get through.
But as far as the national
this,
theme, you got to think, that's why I wrote that article for the Candle, Redefine Family. What is your family? So it's really a nice theme to tie into almost anything you do in your community, because your community is part of your family. And so if you're taking care of that family, it really helps to tie that theme back in. But you got to, think creatively and make a strong tie. But it gives you the opportunity to be very broad, because we have families at every level, from our biological families up to our neighborhoods and communities. So think of it in that regard when you're looking towards tying it into the theme. But I'll pull that up.
Okay, and when we get through, I'll allow you to share too, and we'll do that. Okay. Implementation of Phi U's purposes, and those are all on the phiu.org. The purposes are there. I think we mentioned those a bit ago. Utilization of members' knowledge and skill. and I think I gave that example, what disciplines are represented by your chapter. And I mentioned to you a little bit ago with Gamma Gamma, we have nutrition, family life education, child development too, and fashion marketing. And so you draw from all sources of your that are within your university. And so, and you want to be sure and explain how you did incorporate all of those people and what part they played in it. Then the evaluation, extent of member involvement. And so include the percentage of total members who participated in the professional project. And then, in addition to that, you can say, 45% of the members participated, and we had so much percentage of students within our areas that also helped us with this project. So members' reflections, provide statements from members. That's real important. So those members that go and help with the project, get them to make statements of how they felt about it. And that is, I think, to me, that's a real important part. When I'm reading over them, I want to hear what those people got out of doing this project. So, and then what kind of impact did it have on the community? Clearly describe the impact the professional project had on individuals, families, or the community you served. And then the writing style, the last rubric, part 4, the report is written in a professional style. It's clear, it's concise. The language is appropriate for the anticipated audience. The report is organized using the outline above that we've just gone over. So you would organize it kind of in that order that we have just gone over. The mechanics, it's free of grammatical, punctuation, and spelling errors, and all information is properly cited and referenced if applicable. Almost that mechanics is just a given today. I mean, goodness, mine just corrects mine, tells me what I need to say next, and most of our computers today. But, I always tell students when I'm talking about writing resumes, don't count just on that. Get at least 3 other people to read your resume. So I would suggest you get at least 3 other people to read this and edit this for any mistakes that you might make. And they are mistakes we don't intend. And sometimes today they auto-correct for us. And so you are documented if there are spelling errors and misuse of grammar, etc. So the report is double-spaced, 12-point font, 1-inch margins, and saved as a single PDF file. So I'm going to say that again. It must be submitted as one document, just one document, cover page, title page, the document itself, just one altogether as a PDF. So it must come as a PDF to the national office. And you want to put in the subject, you would put, we've given the example, Alpha Chi's professional project, Gamma Gamma's professional project. That's in the subject, not Jane Doe. And then Melissa, as she's sorting through, she's going, oh my gosh, what in the world's this? So the total report should not exceed 20 pages. The file size should not exceed 3 megabytes. And the page count does not include the cover sheet nor the title page. Any supporting documentation, I've mentioned that with descriptive, you could have news clippings if you did any photographs, sketches, actual examples if you want to, but it's all submitted electronically. So you would, and that's so easy today to be able to do those things. So, and then submitting the professional project, your chapter's report is to be saved, a single PDF, Remember I said at the beginning, I was going to say that multiple times. So saying it again, using the chapter name, and it's to be sent via email to the National Phi Upsilon Omicron office. And you have the email not later than 11:59 Eastern Time on May 1st. And so that's not 12 a.m. That's 11:59 p.m. I will add p.m. to that. I went somewhere the other day and they had a sign that they were open from on Sundays from 12 a.m. to 6 p.m. I found that to be kind of interesting. So I'm just we'll put p.m. there for accuracy. So I'm going to stop talking now and see if you have questions. If Diana wants to first add let's let Diana wants to add what she had, and then if Kyle needs to add anything else, and then we have time to entertain your questions.
Hi again, and again, welcome everyone. I'm glad everyone is here. Since Susan has the document up of the parts of professional project, I did judge these last year and have done it another years before. And just a few things I just want to emphasize, that as a reader, it's easier to follow your professional projects with these items. One thing is that on your rubric, and on your judging sheet, all the different areas that you have to put down things under, like abstract. You need to make sure you have a bold title. I know this is really basic, but a bold title for those areas so we can find it real easily. And usually the abstract is just one page. It mentions there how many words, 250 words, and there were people that didn't submit an abstract. I mean, it was a great project, but there was no abstract. And so that's very important. And well, later I'll mention what you could use that abstract for another Phi U project if you need it, but be sure and include that and put those bold areas so we can find, because if I'm judging this and I'm looking for your goals, sometimes it's hard to find where the goals are for that project if they're not identified easily to find. So if there's any questions on that, be sure and ask me about that. And Susan said she was going to come back and talk about the SMART goals. On your guidelines that you have, you only have to identify 3 SMART goals. So you don't have to identify every single one. A lot of chapters do, and that's great, but you only have to identify 3. My suggestion in that section, when you're talking about your SMART goals, is I would identify that goal. Like if you're doing a specific goal, put down the word specific and then put down what you did in your project that was very specific. If you're going to use measurable as a goal, write on your report measurable or put it in the sentence, and then jot down what you did that was measurable. Great. So as a reader, I can, okay, there they are, and I don't have to think about, okay, what is this? What kind of goal is this? How does this fit into SMART goals? So I would suggest to identify those on that area. And also when you're doing mission and vision, say the mission of our project, blah, 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 blah. The vision of our project is blah, blah, blah. Well, it wouldn't be blah, 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 but anyhow, whatever. But do put those terms in there in that section besides bold as a heading, and have it underneath there. So it's clearly identified. I mean, that would be my suggestion. Some people didn't put those division bold titles. It was just a continuous paper with continuous paragraphs, and that, I mean, it was good content, but it is hard to follow. So again, read those guidelines with that.
And I'm going to intersperse here, you know, the harder it is to find those pieces, the less likely we are to find those pieces. And so then we end up counting down on them. So you want to make it as clear and just like it said here, is concise. And I loved how she said, identify it. This is, and I taught mission and vision statement writing, and I'd always say, start it with our mission is to blah, blah, blah. And then the vision, it was to blah, blah, blah. And I'd use blah, blah, blah too, and you're not going to do that.
I'm a Seinfeld fan, and I'm more of the what does she say? The yada yada yada.
Yada, yada,
Oh,
yada.
yeah.
Yeah, we could have done that too.
Continuing just a couple more things, if it's okay. Under the project details, where Dr. Miller talked about who, what, when, where, why, how, I would use those words in their sentences, who you're talking about, what you did, again, just clearly do some identifications there. As a reader, it's helpful. And most people did really great. Everyone did on the cost using a table. Showing what your costs were either they were free or not free. I mean, everything was donated, it's still, you could write down on a table what you used and just say who donated those items. So that, again, as a reader or someone who's looking at your project could say, oh, wow, they really did reach out to a lot of people. So use that constructively by identifying those businesses or individuals that donate, or how much it did cost and who paid for it in that area. And it is good to have a few sentences along with that table, so that, again, you can understand about the table there.
With that, I might just add too, I mean, I think it'd be important, yes, to note, even if you didn't have to pay anything, but Company A, Company B, and Company C made this amount of donations, approximately this amount of money and this amount of money, I would put that in there to say, and that would indicate measurable and quantitative measures that you didn't spend anything, but it actually cost this much, but that was donated to you. And I think that's kind of important to note.
And sometimes in the document, you may think, well, this is repetitive. I've already said this once, but it does address another need in the report. So don't worry about if you seem like you're restating something. It can just be used in another way. And that can be feasible. I guess the last thing that I would say before good luck everyone is that at the very end of the report, it says documentation. And that's really, really important. You can talk all about a project as much as you want, but as a reader, if I don't see what flyer you used maybe to advertise, a copy of an article that was printed about it, pictures of people being involved, that way I can really, or a video clip, that way I can really put a touch with what actually did happen. I can, wow, that really was a neat idea that they used, and it can explain maybe in a way that you weren't able to explain maybe in the paper. Now, some chapters did slide in a photo with here and there in the document. But again, it's not the report is not a scrapbook, but you still, I believe everyone can have some kind of documentation at the very end to show proof, because you had some type of flyer or advertising or something. You have to have done that. And just put that, attach that, again, all one document, attach that in the support and documentation. Because I will say there were reports last year that got zeros in that section because they did not have supportive documentation. Again, abstract, those chapters that did not have abstract, wonderful project, but got a zero in that one little section, which does affect the total points. We want everyone to be successful. Everyone is a winner being involved. And so just read through these guidelines, and as Dr. Miller said, have 2 or 3 people look at the guidelines and look at your paper, look at your documentation. Maybe someone would miss something that someone else, oh, it's okay, you know. So again, we're here to help you if needed. So
Yes,
hopefully that helped for a few ideas that I had as a reader evaluating your projects. Good luck.
And so regardless of turning in your professional project, what we had talked about with the abstract that you can do after you've submitted your professional project, Dr. Watson has led a charge for our organization to recognize chapters more often through what we call chapter spotlight. So you can submit some of those photos along with that abstract to a link that is provided. And I think that's maybe what she's pulling up now. Is that what you're doing, Dr. Miller?
Well, I'm trying to get out of sharing my screen now. What do I do? Just close out up here, or?
Yeah, up there in view options, you go close your screen or stop sharing.
The chapter spotlight, if I would just say a couple of things while she's looking, it is just recognition for chapters. Anybody can do it. You can do it as many times during a year. And Melissa is just posted the link to the Phi U chapter spotlights in the chat. So go to the chat and find the link. It is a JOT form, just some basic information about a chapter and who's going to submit it. And it doesn't have abstract. It can just be 2 or 3 sentences about what your project was. And it could be your professional project. It could be a meeting. If you have a really good speaker, or you've done a service in your community, maybe, you know, during your meeting or something, and you got a picture of it or a little video of it, submit that. And everyone is recognized. If you fill out the form right and you attach something and submit it, you're going to be a chapter spotlight. You'll get a certificate. I'll email you a certificate. You'll be recognized on the Phi U Facebook page. Your information will be up there, and also be recognized in the next candle. So thank you, Kyle, for reintegrating that, and that's what we were going to mention.
I'm seeing someone asked here for us to address about the fragmentation in various universities and how different majors are scattered all over, and to be so inclusive of all of those majors that fit under the FCS and guidelines. And I guess AAFCS, do they have a list of what fits under those guidelines? So is that in that what you gave, or is that what you wanted to share, Kyle?
Well, I can speak on it a little bit, but I think Melissa put something in there. So what we're saying is a lot of universities are fragmenting. And so you might have your, let's say, interior design be sent over to the art department of a university. Now, what that means is interior design is still family and consumer sciences, but every art major is not. And so we have to be careful in what we do recognize. Just because a fraction of us is in a college doesn't mean everybody in that college is eligible for Phi U membership. And on the flip side, let's say an FCS department for education used to fall under the College of Education. Well, not everybody in the College of Education is eligible for Phi U membership unless you're a FCS educator. But let's say they moved them from there over to the College of Human Sciences. Well, that doesn't mean they lose their rights to Phi U. It just means that they're now located in a different college. And in that College of Human Sciences, you may have several majors that qualify that you didn't realize were available that you can now seek membership from, like nutrition or dietetics or culinary and those kind of things. So if you have questions about who's eligible, just shoot National an email, and between us and the National Council, we discuss it and make sure that we're staying consistent, and we'll give you some feedback on who you can invite as far as majors go. At this point in time, minors in FCS are not considered. We're looking at that at a national level to discuss. So, but just shoot an email to national and we'll talk about it. But before let me open it up for questions, but I did want to make sure everybody looks at the chat. Some great resources have been dropped in there. So make sure you're clicking on them and saving those links. So the body of knowledge link is there. The chapter spotlight link is there. I think another link was put in there for the YouTube channel to see some examples of the way people presented their professional projects as a video, as a component of, but supplied a video to talk about the professional project. But let's open it up to some quick questions because we do want to be respectful of your time.
Yes.
Just raise your hand or open your mic.
You mean we've done that good a job?
We did
Surely,
outstanding. Dr. Miller, Dr. Watson, you just nailed it. Well,
surely you have a question.
Here's the thing. No questions, we get it. That was a lot of information. You know where to find the resources. But we want to make sure that you know we're still here for you as your advisors, as National Council, and we want to make sure that you reach out if you have questions, whether it's tonight or at any other time, because we want to help you be successful. And we really our goal is to have 100% of our chapters turn in a professional project, because think of the impact in our communities if we did that. It just blows my mind to think about. And I know that the graders will be like, oh my gosh, we got that many in, because that's a lot of grading to do. But I would rather have the work and the good work that we do through those projects and deal with the grading of all those projects, as we have to. So think about that and encourage your chapter members to get involved so that it's not all on one person's shoulder. And again, we just thank you for being here tonight. And I'm going to leave it over to Susan, since this is her deal to close us out.
This is my bag, huh? Yes,
your bag.
Now that I'm retired, they love for me to say that.
Quit saying that. We're going to stack more responsibility
now that I'm retired. Now listen, I'm going to piggyback on what you said. I've got so much time, just every chapter send one in so I can go over all of those. I'd be more than glad to do that. No, in all seriousness, I totally agree with Kyle. It would be so heartwarming and warm to know that every chapter reached out and did something. And I know some of you do things within your community and then you don't take the time to write it up. And we want to know that. We're so proud of you. And this is the one thing that I kept, that I want to stay with in my retirement years, because it means so much to me. I'm so proud of each of you. And I've seen the capabilities. It's just amazing. So keep up the good work. Again, we are here for you. I will answer or get help in answering any questions that you may have. And we just want to wish you much success, not only on this project, but in your college career. Thank you once again for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Miller.